What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Sharpest Tool. My name is JRP. Got Bosco here.
Yo.
Yeah, back at it with another fire episode talking about the wonderful world of paid advertising. If you missed last week's episode, you definitely want to catch up on that. But even if you didn't and you're ready to dive right in, we got some meat on the bones for this episode.
Let's do it. I got something for you, though, Josh.
All right, what is it?
For everybody that's listening to our episode, you know Josh loves to give me a riddle or a joke. So I always try to flip it around. I did one on him before.
All right, tables have turned.
It's a joke here. It's just got the joke, but here you go. All right. What do plumbers have when they fall asleep?
Unfinished business.
Oh, pipe dreams. It's so
okay. That's a good one. But, you know, do you actually know though who cleans the bottom of the oceans?
I mean, I would assume bottom feeders, but go ahead. What do you got?
A mermaid.
Oh, come on.
But on the real though, did you hear about the new broom that just came out? The new broom.
No. What is it?
Yeah, it's sweeping the nation. That's okay. But on the real though, did you hear about the one about the messy bed?
No, what was that?
Yeah, I made it up. Okay, we're done.
Okay, let's keep going. I hope you all enjoyed this. This is good. This has been another episode.
This episode is brought to you by Corny Jokes and Bosco. All right. All right, jumping in. Paid advertising, maximizing paid advertising. Last episode, we talked a bit about the different paid advertising channels and the landscape of paid advertising, how it's evolved over the years.
The power of paid advertising, yes.
The power of paid advertising. It is so powerful and essential for a business to run paid advertising today. And there's so many reasons why, right? It allows you to see results more immediately than just with your SEO. Does that mean you stop investing in SEO? Absolutely not. You still need to be building the strong, solid foundation for your business's growth and success of being found online. And that is an essential part of any marketing strategy. This is something that complements it. This is something that you should always be looking at the needs of the business. And this is a lever that you can flex to be able to fulfill those needs when it comes to getting leads with any specific time frame and any specific channel and so on and so forth. But today, I want to jump into how we maximize paid advertising channels. So some pretty fire stuff here. So maximizing paid advertising channels. Scorpion's got a pretty strong perspective on what the most appropriate way would be to go about running a paid advertising campaign. Bosco, kind of give us the overview, the broad scope perspective of how we should be thinking about maximizing paid advertising channels, given the complexity of them, how many there are. What should we be looking at? How should we be thinking about maximizing our performance?
We touched a little bit on last episode. So for those that, again, as a reminder, go back. If you haven't listened to it, listen to last episode first. That way you're getting up to date with a lot of this. But we talked about, for any business owner that's out there, the first measurement that you could look at to really help you out is your cost per lead. Now, to maximize your performance, again, you're investing dollars. SEO is going to take its time. Paid advertising is for the higher intent we touched on, but you're going to look at your cost per lead, right? And the idea is to look for the lowest cost per lead possible. Now, that's going to come with the different channels that you're going to be running, right? Now, there are a wide range of channels you can run in. We talked about Google PPC, there's Yahoo and Bing, there's your local service ads or Google Guaranteed, right? That's a cost per lead source. You've got Yelp, you've got Facebook, you've got Thumbtack, you've got Angie, I can go on and on and on. Here's what it is though. To maximize your dollars in terms of paid advertising, you want to find the lowest cost per lead possible. Ideally, it's going to be, we start with is like local service ads. That's what I always recommend in any business that we start is to get your local service ads going, right? Because it's a pay per lead source. What I love about local service ads, okay, is that not only is it a pay per lead source, so someone clicks on it, great, you're going to see the reviews on there, you're going to see some information, but ideally, once they call you, and if it's for something you actually don't service that isn't on your profile, or is say like an employment call, you can actually dispute that lead, okay? That's what I love. I'm a fan of those. But to really push the numbers on your paid advertising, you're looking for, again, cost per lead CPL. That's really a good benchmark for any business owner to have in mind, right? Now, it's not to say that you're going to get a $30 cost per lead every single time, right? Because when you actually have a wide range of different channels you're operating in, it's going to fluctuate. We talk about non-branded and we talk about branded. Now, keep that in mind. There's non-branded and branded here. So when it comes to that, and you're looking at your non-branded cost per lead, right? There's going to be a range you're running in, right? So we're going to be looking at Google PPC, LSAs, and let's say premium directories. That's another source here, right? There's a lot of directories out there that people jump into. But again, when you're looking at your blended cost per lead on non-branded, it's going to fluctuate, and it's going to be different for every season, going to be different for every trade, right? So there's a different benchmark you're looking at. But again, I push cost per lead because that's really the benchmark that business owners should think with in mind.
Let's break this out. You have the branded and the non-branded, right? We often talk about that. And what's interesting, and I've always found this interesting. A lot of marketing companies conflate the two. They bring them together. They position them as like one thing. They're not broken out. Yeah. And oftentimes a lot of marketing companies will expose a really low cost per lead, like a $10 cost per lead. But in reality, whenever I dive into the numbers, it's crazy to me. 80% of the dollars of the budget are going to the branded keywords. They're clicks that are about the business name. Of course, clicks about your business name are going to be a lot cheaper because people are looking for you when they're searching your business name. So you're always going to see high intentionality, high conversion rates, not a lot of competition against a specific business name. So you'll see lower lead costs, right? And so oftentimes companies will expose these together and say, hey, you got 100 leads and they cost us $15, let's just say. So $15 leads, you got 100 of them, we're doing great. But then you really dive in, you take that double click in, that second layer down
double click.
And then I love the double click. And then you realize 80% of those dollars went to branded searches, went to searches specific to your name. Now, this is not to say don't run a branded campaign. You want to protect the brand that you are building.
It's insurance. It's insurance on your name. That's what I tell people. It's insurance on your name.
Say that again.
Insurance on your name.
Insurance on your name. Insurance on your name. Couldn't agree more. You're doing so much to build such a powerful experience in your industry for your customers to create repeatable, consistent experiences. And naturally, when you do that, you start to get people talking about your business. They talk about you online through reputation, leaving reviews and things like that. They talk about you to their friends. They talk about you to their spouse. They talk about you everywhere when you provide good, powerful experiences. There's so much. It should be called the Good Gossip Channel.
Oh, I love that.
How to generate good gossip about your business. So you're generating all of this. And so naturally, what happens? People search for you by name more. But that's a very different client and a very different potential client. That's a very different prospect from somebody who doesn't know you. Right? Who you still want to get in front of so you can make sure you're doing business for. So we always find it really powerful to step back, separate the two. You have your branded searches or your branded efforts here. You invest some here, but not all of it, but some here to preserve that brand, insurance on the brand so nobody else does it. Because if you don't do it and your brand continues to build equity and grow, somebody else, one of your competitors, is going to catch on and they're going to start, I'm going to run ads against this person's name. And then all of a sudden they'll randomly click on me, and different story, but you want to make sure you have that insurance. Other side that we want to really make sure we're looking at is people who have no idea who you are and what you do, but they have a need and they're very intentional about that need, right? They're jumping in and they're saying, hey, I need a plumber. I need them near me. I have an emergency. I have a toilet leak. I have my HVAC, it's not heating, right? I have a bug problem. I have an ant problem. Whatever it is, they have a high intent search that they're trying to get in front of you in your industry, in your local market. That's what we call non-branded. These are people who are not searching for you by brand. They are searching based on their need. And so those are going to have a very different conversion dynamic, if you will, right? Yeah. And that's where you're going to see oftentimes higher lead costs. Why? Because all your competition know how important and valuable those keywords are to get in front of, or those searches are to get in front of, because of the intention of those potential clients, and they can also potentially fill the need. So if you think of, let's just take Google PPC, step it back. It's an auction, right? Think of it like an auction. The value prized possession is how you rank and what position you have for those particular keywords, right? So super important to make sure that you're aggressive and outpacing what other people are potentially willing to pay, That's where the cost comes in. And if you're in a really competitive area, if you're in Phoenix, you're in Denver, you're in Chicago, you're in New York, you're in Los Angeles, guess what? Hate to break it to you, it's going to be expensive, right? It's going to the amount your competition is willing to pay continually goes up.
The digital marketing landscape is so volatile in terms of it could be great for a few months, right? You're not paying a high cost. You're not, because there's a lot of search volume out there. But then guess what happens? Things slow down. People are just becoming more and more aggressive, and it's costing more. And I tell business owners, you shouldn't steer or be afraid to understand this type of data. Now, again, I get it. We get into the weeds, landscapers, get your weed whackers out. This is what's happening. We do it, but we try to uncover and expose certain things. Now, we don't necessarily want you to stay in it because you can drive yourself crazy doing this. And I get that, right? But ideally, when it comes to this, the digital marketing landscape can be volatile. So you have to separate the two. You need to understand it, because you want to have at least enough knowledge that when you're talking to a marketing agency or hire someone internal, that you can speak and have that lingo as well. That's the key here, so that you know what you're doing and what you're investing your dollars into, right? You want to trust who you're working with and what they're doing for you. So when it comes to that, you're absolutely right. It's that auction house can be volatile and it's going to fluctuate, and you have to be prepared for that.
Yeah, you have to, for sure. And there are certain channels where the cost is going to differ too. Mm-hmm. So that's why we always take an approach. It's always interesting. How many people don't always think about it this way?
Yeah.
We always want to take a diversified approach. Think of like just any investment book, right? When you invest, you're investing in, ideally, as you continue to grow your investment portfolio, you don't want to just invest in stocks. You don't want to just invest in businesses. You don't want to just invest in real estate. Ideally, you want to diversify that portfolio, right? Because at any one particular point in time, one might be doing better than the other, and you don't want to miss out on those opportunities. It's a very, very similar approach to advertising, right? Because of the wide array of potential channels that you can be seen on and get in front of potential clients on, you want to make sure that you are involved in the best of those. Now, any channel that you get involved in, whether it's like you mentioned, local service ads, whether it's Google pay-per-click or Bing and Yahoo, or what you mentioned earlier, premium directories, any of those channels, they're all Yelp advertising, Thumbtack advertising. Gosh, the list goes on, right? Oh, yeah. Angie, the list goes on. Every one of those is going to have let's call it a population, right? They're going to have a group of people who are looking for what you do. Yep. You think about it this way, right? Like, how many people, Bosco, would you say, take a guess, how many people use Google every day?
Every day, millions.
Think about this. Google has 4.3 billion users worldwide. Billion users, okay? How many people do you think use Bing?
I'm going to say not as high up in the millions, but there's a good amount.
Certainly not as high. Google retains roughly 84% of the market share of searchers, people who go online to search. So roughly, think of it like 80-20, right? Regardless of the percentages, a massive amount of that population of potential customers live on Google, right?
Yeah.
Compared to Bing and Yahoo.
Oh, yeah.
Does that mean Bing and Yahoo are a bad channel?
No.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's just not going to produce the same kind of volume in terms of getting people over to your site, potential conversions, things like that Google would potentially do. Yeah. In the same way, Angie's going to have a different population, if you will, compared to Yelp, compared to Thumbtack, compared to LSAs, right? Each of them has value in its own right, and each of them has a different cost structure associated with it, and each of them is going to perform different for your business based off a wide variety of factors. Now, step back. That's confusing as all get out. Go ahead, Bosco.
Let me try this for again, it's a lot, and I understand it, but it's helpful, it's beneficial. But think of it this way: for all the tradespeople out there, would you ever go to a job with one tool?
Yeah.
Could you get your job done with one tool? Could you go out there? I can get something done. But can you complete the job with one tool? No. What are you going to do? You're going to have a tool belt. Digital marketing is exactly the same way. You need a tool belt, an arsenal of different ways to get to those customers. And that's what JRP over here is dropping on right now. That's what he is doing.
Yeah. Don't hang on my last word of this. That's confusing as all get out until you understand exactly what Bosco just said, right? Where is you need to have multiple arrows in your quiver, right? You need to have multiple, you like that one? I know.
I love
multiple
that
tools, multiple tools in your tool belt in order to accomplish the job at hand at any point in time during the year. Because again, there's fluctuation throughout the year. So making sure you have a diversified approach where your dollars are able to go to the right channel at the right time to maximize the result, right? And what does that take? Well, it takes a combination of, data science and machine learning, AI, all of the technology aspect, along with the human element and the human interaction, along with your data, right? Your data is so essential.
Are you telling me that there's a company out there that uses data to actually hold on a second?
Probably a few, but very few are the Scorpion Swiss Army knife.
The Scorpion. That's what I'm saying. That's it right there. I'm just saying.
But it's so important because we've talked about data and how important data is. So let's refresh. So Bosco, data as it pertains to maximizing your paid advertising performance. Drop some fire here. What's going on with data?
When you come, again, you're going to be able to measure for example, again, I go back to this CPL over time, right? When it comes to paid advertising, you're going to measure your CPL. It's going to fluctuate up and down, right? But at the same time, when I start to understand my different channels, when I utilize this data, I've seen a lot of business owners go, I've used Google before. I don't want to deal with them at all. I've used Yelp before. I don't want to deal with them at all. But guess what? There are searchers that are using that platform. Josh just dropped that knowledge in terms of, let's say, 80%. 80%. Google eats up 80% of the market in terms of searches. And there are business owners out there that say, I don't want to market on that. You've just missed out on 80% of the opportunity, right? For people that need what you serve, right? So utilizing the data in terms of these different channels, you're measuring that cost per lead because they're coming at different channels. So when you start to see the fluctuations, what you want to do is diversify your book and put more dollars towards the channels that are driving in a lower cost per lead and have the volume there. Right. So you're making those adjustments. You're shifting over to that because it's driving it in. You're getting the calls from that source because you're getting a lower cost per lead. The search is there. The intent is there. So you're utilizing that information. Right. And it can shift. In the next month, it can go from, say, local service ads over to Yelp. Yelp is now driving it in. But what's happening is you're diversifying that book. Now, I'm not saying start in every single channel all at once. That's not what we're saying here. But you do have to make an investment into at least a minimum I recommend is all the time local service ads and premium directories to start. And if need be, Google PPC.
Yeah, it's so important too, right? Because there's going to be channels, right? Not everybody has money growing on trees that they're going to invest in the marketing, right? Everybody's got budget considerations. Most home service businesses who are invested in good growth are investing at least 8 to 10% of their top line sales revenue, right? So some of that's going to go to different channels. So you got to partner with your marketing company to make sure that you're having those conversations about, well, where's the best placement of these dollars to build our solid organic foundation, accomplish our marketing goals and objectives. For example, building our brand, social content, making sure we're present with our people where they are, and then also making sure we're focused on the on-demand searches, right? The searches where people have a very clear intent and they're looking for the service right now. So you want to make sure you're in front of all those and there's a balanced approach to it. But making sure that those dollars are going towards those channels on the paid advertising side that are actually producing, you're going to want to start somewhere and build from there. And ideally, you take the channel. This is one of the reasons why we obviously Bosco's recommended LSAs is LSAs is such a great lead cost channel. And it produces fairly high quality leads for most businesses. And so maximizing what you can receive from that channel is going to be the first step. But then where do you go from there? Most home service business owners can't get enough from just that. We have to branch outside. So what's the next layer that we layer? And you want to think about that from a diversification approach, because again, each channel, they have a population of people that you can get in front of. And then once you cap what you could potentially get, and it's different for everybody, but when you cap what you potentially can get, you're going to want to branch to the next and to the next. And so that's where you get that diversification approach, and why tying the data of what's actually turning into revenue is so important to tie back to your marketing. So that way, you know, with real numbers, what's coming from what channels. And then you can make informed decisions and adjust things over time. That's the power of the data.
Think with attribution. Huge. Think with attribution. And speaking of LSAs too, and maximizing, what a lot of times people tend to forget is with any channel, just because I throw dollars at it doesn't mean I'm automatically going to open up, as you touched on before, the floodgates. right? Doesn't mean that's going to happen, right? So it just takes some nuance, right? So again, search volumes can vary, right? We know that for each channel, it's going to be a little different. And also Google has got its own algorithm. You know, with the auction house and PPC, it's pretty straightforward. If I bid more aggressively, I'm going to show up, right? With LSAs, not so much. With LSAs, there's a nuance to it, right? You got to make sure you're responsive to the calls are coming in. You got to make sure reviews, the good gossip. You got to get that good gossip out there. Get those reviews.
Gossip.
Got to get that good gossip.
Man, yeah, so you bring up such a good thing about good gossip. So what have you seen like be the impact of companies who have a really strong good gossip meter, right? Really strong reputation.
Yep.
And the impact it has on how their campaigns perform.
I have seen with many businesses that just start, if you are a brand new business, you got to remember and understand it's going to take some legwork, not only on your part, but on your marketing agency that you're partnered with. Or if you hired someone internal, it's fine. But it's going to cost a little bit. And by a little bit, I mean, it could cost a lot depending on what you're trying to do, but you got to be smart with it. But over time, as you build up your brand, when you get that good gossip, whether it's referrals, good reviews, well-known name, people start to search for your name, right? So what's happening is that even when they do search for plumber near me and I recognize JRP's plumbing, I'm like, wait, I remember that. Guess what? I'm going to click on their name, right? There's higher intent, which means I'm going to convert. And what's that going to do to my cost per lead that we touched on? It's going to drive it down. You're actually paying less for leads as you build up your brand. People want to trust you, right? How do you do that? You get the good gossip. You got to get out there. So as you build up your brand and your recognition, your reviews, you start to actually see a lower cost per lead over time. And which we'll touch on eventually, is that organic starts to kick up too. And people are searching for you organically. That direct search.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I can eat up the direct search. I love it because of the fact that you're paying less.
I think you just like gave us two new podcast episodes that we need to tackle and dive into reputation and reviews. And with paid search, I have seen it. We've done some data analysis on this, and companies who have a less than 4-star review, less than 4-star rating on their reputation compared to companies who have more than a 4-star rating. Oftentimes I see twice as many clicks come through or twice as many like conversions come through.
It's even more competitive now. I've seen it even with a 4.7, 4.8, they don't do as well.
Yeah.
I mean, they're looking for 4.9 and higher.
Yeah, this is I mean, the data is, I think we ran this data a couple years ago, but you're right. Because especially when it comes to local service ads, which is so like local service ads, Google is trying to get local businesses in front of people who want local results, and they're stamping their guarantee on it. And in order for you to, one of the most powerful signals that you have there is your reputation, right? Mm-hmm. And so we've seen people who, businesses who aren't able to get that next layer of performance in because they're down by 0.1 decibel on their star rating compared to what the competition's doing. So we have to obsess over reputation and building reputation because of the collateral impact it has on the rest of your marketing.
The business owners need to obsess over that. Business owners need to obsess over. I can't go to your clients and call them and be like, hey, leave this person. I can't do that. You have to obsess as a business owner over your reputation and your reviews. You got to have integrity. You got to get your techs out there thinking the same way you do, right? You want to build up that brand because people want to trust that. They want to have a good service, good experience. Yeah. Like you would when you're out at a restaurant or anywhere out there, you want to make sure you're having that great experience, right? And so when you see a 4.9, a 5-star company, that's a company I can trust.
Yeah, man, I feel like we could go another half hour on this topic, but we're going to stay tuned for the next episode because we're going to be diving into this even more. I think there's so many good nuggets. We got so much fire coming in this. By the way, we are getting ready to celebrate the 100th episode of the Sharpest Tool.
Here it is.
So cool stuff happening. Stay tuned for that. But if you found a lot of value in this and you know somebody who needs to hear it, share it around, watch it back, but hit that like button, show us that you're giving some love, and pound that subscribe button like you mean it so you can continue to get more of this awesome content. Getting pumped out for you by JRP and Bosco over here at Scorpion. Hope everybody's doing well. We will see you in the next episode. Thanks, everyone.